Shalom, Israel. Please forgive us for the technical difficulties. I think we've got the audio good now. Um, Thank you for tuning in to another Bible Basics class. I am your teacher for tonight, Shahad Ahmad, and to my right.
Rakab Allah.
And the title of the class tonight is How I Feel or What is Real, right? So are you moving based on your feelings or are you moving based on reality, right? Let's get into it. Let's grab that first scripture. It's Sirach 3 and 24.
This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3 and verse 24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion.
So a lot of times what happens with Israel is they get a feeling, right? We get a feeling, we feel something, we witness something, we experience something, and we make a judgment not based on facts or realities, but based on how we feel, right? How we feel about the situation, how we feel about what we thought we saw or what we thought we heard, and a lot of times it's a misunderstanding, right? Or it's not based on what actually transpired, but it's based on some baggage that you're bringing from um, something that you've experienced in your past, right? And we don't often take the time to inquire diligently. We don't often take the time to really go in and second guess ourselves, but we treat it as fact, right? We feel a certain kind of way, and we trust our feelings. We trust that our gut, and we move according to that trust, right? And let's see what ends up happening. Read.
And an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment.
And so now you've made an assumption, right? You feel a kind of way, and now you're moving based on that, right? And what often happens is people feel like they've been wrong. People feel like like a situation like this, right? Well, he just don't like me. That brother just don't like me, right? And it's because he passed you by and didn't greet you today, right? Or she didn't sit by you today in class, right? Or she didn't respond. They didn't respond in a timely manner to your text message, right? And it couldn't have been that they forgot. It couldn't have been that they were distracted. It couldn't have been like the many of different reasons that it was. It was because they feel a kind of way about you. It was because they're no longer messing with you, right? What did you do? But this is the thing, right? We don't inquire. We don't investigate. We don't go try to figure out what the issue is, right? So many times we are content with just having an evil suspicion, right? We are content with suspecting that someone doesn't like you anymore, someone's not messing with you, someone feels a kind of way about you, and your response is to feel that kind of way back. Well, if they're not messing with me, I'm not messing with them. If they don't want to talk to me, I'm not talking to them. They don't want to greet me, I'm not greeting them, right? And why do we do this? Is not according to Scripture, and is detrimental to building up Israel. It's selfish, it's self-centered, it's egotistical. Like, where's your humility? Where's your charity? If you feel like someone has an issue with you, go and inquire. Hey, what's going on? What have I done to offend you? But everyone walks around like they don't offend, right? Everyone walks around as the victim and not the offender. And that's just not reality. The scriptures say offenses are going to come, right? But the most important thing is how we deal with those offenses, right? So we have to make sure that we are ruling our evil suspicion. We have to make sure that it's not a suspicion, but that we've inquired and we've dealt with it righteously. So let's grab Exodus 2 and 11, because we've always been like this, right? And there's examples in the Bible. There's a few examples in the Bible, right? But let's get one of the earlier ones, right? Go ahead and read that when you got.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 2 and verse 11. And it came to pass in those days, when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren and looked on their burdens. And he spied an Egyptian smiting an Hebrew, one of his brethren.
So Moses was out strolling, watching his brethren, and he sees an Egyptian who is not a Hebrew, assaulting one of his brethren. Right? Read.
Verse 12. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
So he came to the defense of his brother, right? And he took out the Egyptian, and he buried him in the sand, right? Read. Let's see what happens. Read.
And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said unto him that did the wrong, wherefore smittest thou thy fellow?
Read.
And he said, who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me, as thou killedest the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known.
So this is the thing, right? Moses did an honorable thing and defended his brethren, right? And now he's being accused of being self-righteous, right? He's being accused of us taking matters into his own hands. He's being accused of taking not just matters, but taking authority, right, into his own hands, right, by his brethren, by the same brethren that he's trying to protect, his fellow Hebrew, right, against another nation. And now he's being accused of wanting to take his brethren's life. That doesn't make any sense. Why does he have an evil suspicion when he didn't see Moses doing any harm to his brethren, but rather protecting his brethren? But this is how we move. This is how we've been moving, right? Grab 1 Samuel 18, and we're going to start at 6. We're going to learn about King Saul a little bit, because King Saul took it to a whole nother level. It's wild. It's really wild.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18 and verse 6. And it came to pass as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the woman came out of all cities of Israel, singing and dancing, to meet King Saul, with tabrets, with joy, and with instruments of music.
So they're returning from war, from slaughtering our enemies, and everyone is rejoicing. Everyone is celebrating and having a good time, singing and dancing, right? Read.
Verse 7. And the woman answered one another as they played and said, Saul hath slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s.
Uh-oh, read.
And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, they have ascribed unto David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom?
So Saul is in his feelings now, right? Saul has a vain opinion, and he has an evil suspicion, right? And his suspicion now, not because of anything David did or said, but because of what the women are saying about him and David, right? The women are saying that Saul killed thousands, but David killed 10 times that, 10,000s, right? Making, in Saul's opinion, David the better man. And so now his evil suspicion is that David wants the kingdom next. He wants his throne. So now Saul's paranoid, right? Read on.
Verse 9. And Saul eyed David from that day and forward.
So Saul's looking at David, with his evil suspicion from that day forward. Read.
Verse 10. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul.
So now the Most High is going to use Saul based on how Saul is moving, right? Because this is the thing with the Most High. He can, if people want to move in righteousness, he can use them in righteousness. If people want to move in wickedness, he can also use them in wickedness, right? Saul decided that he wanted to have an evil suspicion. He didn't want to diligently inquire about it, but he wanted to continue to move based on his feelings and nothing else, right? Read.
And he prophesied in the midst of the house, and David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand.
So David's just, chilling, doing what he doing, playing his instrument, right? And not only this, Saul is the king already. Saul has been king. Saul has been by all means, a successful king, right? He's done great works. And you would think that a king would have enough confidence to not feel threatened by one of his men, his leaders of his army, right? But would be grateful to have such a man fighting on his side, right? But this wasn't Saul. Saul had some insecurities, and he took them out on David. Let's read.
Verse 11, and Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice.
Can you imagine now? So you're David, right? And you're doing the will of the Most High. You're slaughtering the nations for your people. You're trying to be the best that you can be, right? And you're serving your king dutifully. And this man has lost his mind. Now he's throwing javelins at you, and you for what? What have you done? You haven't done anything to this man, but yet he's now been overthrown with his evil suspicion, right? The Most High has used him based on how he decided to move, based on how he decided to feel and act, right? So now the Most High has put that evil spirit on him, and now we're gonna see how he moves, right? Let's go to chapter 22, verse 13. So Saul's wilding out, right? Now he's throwing javelins at David for no reason, threatening to take his life, and this is madness. For what? David hasn't done anything to him. He hasn't even hinted at a desire to take the throne, right? And David is if David had a desire for the throne, which he didn't, he's not going to try to take it from Saul. That's not the kind of man that he is. Saul should know this. But when you give yourself over to your feelings, your whole perspective, your whole view of reality is now tinted with the color of your insecurities and with the color of your evil suspicion, right? So now everything that you see is viewed through this eye of evil, right? This man wants to do me evil. So the most innocent thing, you find a way to make that evil, right? Because this sister walked past you today and didn't greet you like she usually does, now she got issues, right? Now she's the problem, right? You don't ever think to yourself, man, I wonder what she's going through. Maybe she's distracted. Maybe she's got some things on her mind. Let me go talk to her. Let me go see how she's doing. Let me go inquire to her well-being. No, forget her. We got to be better than that. That's not how the scriptures tell us to operate. Go ahead and read that.
Verse 13. This is 1 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 13. And Saul said unto him, Why have ye conspired against me, thou and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as at this day?
So Saul is really in his feelings now. He's really stirred up by this evil suspicion, And now he's going to the priest that he heard had helped David, and he's questioning him like, "What are you doing?" He's accusing them of betrayal. You are betraying your king for this man who is my enemy. Let's see what happens. Read.
Verse 14. Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, "And who is so faithful among all thy servants as David?"
Who is more faithful than David? David is your most faithful servant. Saul, what are you talking? King Saul, what do you mean? I don't understand. What happened? What did this man do to you? Read.
Which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thine house.
So David had a honorable reputation, right? Everyone knew David's works. And so this is why it's important to have good works. One of the reasons why it's important to have good works, people will speak on your good works. People will speak on your good character, right? When someone has an evil suspicion towards you, they're talking about you, they're murmuring and mumbling about you, people will stand up for you, and people will say, "No, that brother's good. You know, look at all the works that he does." But in your mind, because you got an evil suspicion, no, he's doing that for vainglory, right? He's only doing it because he wants the praise. That's madness. That's crazy. Read.
Verse 15. Did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. Let not the king impute anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father. For thy servant knew nothing of all this, less or more.
He didn't know what the issue was between King Saul and David. They were completely clueless. So they're like, please forgive us. We had no idea, that there was any issue. We serve you, the king. That's how it always been. We assume that David served you as well, based on his works, based on who he's been. Right? Read.
Verse 17. And the king said unto the footman, verse 16, and the king said, Thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, thou and all thy father's house.
So Saul is wroth now. He has lost it, and he's trying to kill anyone who he feels is siding with, protecting, and has aligned with David, right? Because if they're aligned with David, then they're an enemy of him, right? Read.
Verse 17, and the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, Turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David.
Slay the priest. Like this is how wild it is, right? Saul says to his footmen, slay the priests of the Lord. These are the men who are ordained to do the work of the Lord, and Saul is saying to slay them, to kill them. Read.
And because they knew when he fled, and did not show it to me, but the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord.
So the servants knew better. They were like, you're wilding. Like we're not gonna do this because this is not righteous. This is an unrighteous thing. This man hasn't done anything to you. These priests and their house, they haven't done anything to you. They haven't done anything against you, right? You're wilding out. Read.
Verse 18, and the king said to Doeg, Turn thou and fall upon the priests. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priests, and slew on that day 75 persons that did wear a linen ephod.
So who did King Saul turn to? Our chief enemy, the Edomite. So Saul used the Edomite to kill his brethren, to kill the priests. And of course, the Edomite was right there, ready, willing, and capable of doing thy bidding, right? As always, as today, right? Keep reading.
Verse 19, and Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children and sucklings, and oxen and asses and sheep, with the edge of the sword.
He was more than willing to destroy all of Nob, right? Every living thing, right? Because that's just what he does. Read.
Verse 20. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar shewed David and that Saul had slain the Lord's priest. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house.
So David was wise. He knew, look, you can't trust these Edomites. Like, if he has the opportunity, he surely will rat me out. He surely will tell King Saul what it is. And sure enough, he did, right? Let's go to chapter 20. So we see Saul is losing it, right? He's going after the priests of the Lord and kills them all because of his evil suspicion towards David, because of his feelings, not based on reality, not based on anything that David has said or done, but simply because of his jealousy, his envy, his pride, his insecurities. Has nothing to do with what is actually going on, right? It's all feelings. Saul is the king of evil suspicion. And the thing is, a lot of y'all are like Saul. A lot of y'all, a lot of us operate with this evil suspicion that at any time someone is trying to do us harm. People are trying to do us harm, right? And the reality is, ain't no one thinking about you. No one is studying you. No one is paying. People have their own things to deal with. They're not worried about you. They're not clocking you. They're not checking for you. I have encountered people who are just mean, people who just have a spirit about them that is evil. They just don't care about people. They're miserable, so their mission is to make everyone that's around them miserable, right? There are those people out there. However, it is incredibly few and far between. Most people want peace. Most people are just looking to be happy or looking to get by, looking to survive. But that's not how we think. That's not how we operate. We operate like people are coming after us. We operate like people are looking to do us harm. People are looking to make our lives miserable. When by and large, that's not the case. We gotta be better. We gotta do better. Go ahead and let's get this account. Go ahead and read that. 1 Samuel 20 and 30.
This is the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 20 and verse 30. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan, and he said unto him, Thou son of the perverse rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely die.
So now Saul is going after his son, Jonathan, because Jonathan and David are best friends, and he now feels like his son has gone against him and made an allegiance with David. So he's telling him, look, go get him and bring him to me so I can kill him. How dare you side with him and offer aid to him against me? And Jonathan knows what it is, right? Read that.
Verse 32. And Jonathan answered Saul, his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he be slain? What hath he done?
What has he done? Like, why are you trying to kill him? Read.
And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David.
So that same javelin, now Jonathan is potentially on the receiving end. His own son, Saul is lost his mind, and now he's trying to kill his own son. Right? this is madness. But again, this a lot of times this is how we move, right? Um, so let's figure out how we're supposed to deal, and how we fight that because it's an ingrained thing on us, right? We have generational curses, we have generational trauma, that we've experienced, a lot of times in our lifetimes, but even trauma that's passed down from our forefathers, from our parents and grandparents and great grandparents, like that's still within us, right? And so it makes sense that we as a people are more guarded. It makes sense that we as a people move with a tinge more trepidation than these other nations, right? Because there have been all kinds of atrocities committed against us by these other nations and amongst one another, right? So yeah, I get it. It's tough, but we have to learn how to fight this instinct of protect at all costs, and at the very least judge a matter righteously, right? At the very least inquire, and try to get the whole facts. This is the thing, right? Because I've been there. I've definitely been in situations where I've thought, oh, I don't know what the issue is with that brother or what the issue is with that sister, but for whatever reason they just not messing with me, right? And so I'm gonna leave them alone. I'm not gonna mess with them, right? School. I recall a lot of this happening this happening in a school, right? When I was younger, I didn't. There were times where I just made an assumption based on a snap judgment, based on the first encounter that I have with someone, based on my feelings, and not necessarily based on reality, right? And I feel like, this person doesn't like me, or I feel some kind of way about them, and so I'm just not messing with them. I'm avoiding them, right? And, school year goes along, and for whatever reason, I find myself in a situation with this person, where now I'm kind of forced to get to know them, right? Forced to have a conversation with them, and it turns out I was wrong. I was completely wrong, right? This person doesn't feel any kind of way about me. Like, they actually are interested in getting to know me, and they're actually cool people, right? And there's been a number of times where my evil suspicion has come out to be wrong, more often than not. And it's the way that comes out is by opening yourself up to the idea, the possibility that the suspicion that you have is false. The suspicion that you have is vain, right? And so that's the thing that we need to consider first and foremost, right? We should double and triple down on the idea that this suspicion that we have might be false. Instead of assuming that this person is out to get you or this person doesn't like you, instead of assuming that this person doesn't mess with you no more, instead of assuming things, right, assume the best. Assume that, this person is just going through something, or assume that there's a misunderstanding, or assume that this is something that this person is struggling with, and they might need your help. Assume that you can be an aid rather than a victim, because that typically works out better, right? And at the very least, if this person does feel a kind of way about you, now you've diligently inquired, right? And now you have the fact, and now you can deal with it, right? And this is how you deal with it. Matthew 18 and 15. If someone feels a kind of way about you, they should come to you straight up, one-on-one, and say, look, you've offended me, right? Let's figure it out. And that's how you should operate with people also. That's how you should operate with people who have offended you, and that's how you should operate with people that you have a suspicious, an evil suspicion towards. Go to them, talk to them, get to know them, figure out if your suspicion is right or wrong before you decide to act on it, before you decide to move on it, right? Get that evidence. Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
And we've gone through this many a times, right? I feel like as Israel, this is one of those things that this is Israelite 101. This is how you deal with offenses, right? Read.
But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two or more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
Take witnesses, because a lot of times if an offense has been made, both parties might be in their feelings, right? And so you get impartial parties who may be witness, who may have been witness to the incident, the offense, or maybe a character witness, right? They might be there to just say, look, I've known this brother for a long time. This isn't how he moves. Like, I'm sure it was a misunderstanding, right? And it's certainly easier when you feel like you've been offended, it's certainly easier to listen to someone who's an impartial party than to the person that you feel that you've been offended by, right? Or than to the person that you have an evil suspicion about. So go ahead and read.
Verse 17, and if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican.
And so in dealing with matters in righteousness, you got to take it before the body, right? If you still can't figure it out, then you take it to the body, and you deal with the body. You deal with it with your leadership, right? And you rightly decide. You judge the matter in righteousness rather than in your feelings, right? And that's how we're supposed to go about things. That's how we're supposed to go. That's how we're supposed to move. And if we move this way, we eliminate the opportunity for evil suspicion, right? Keep reading.
Verse 18, verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
Read.
Again I say unto you, that if 2 of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven.
Read.
For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them.
Where 2 or 3 are gathered together, that's where the Most High is. If 2 or 3 are gathered together in the name of the Most High, he is going to be there with us, right? And that's the goal. That's the idea. We are to gather together and build the kingdom together. We can't do it by ourselves. So it's important. It's vital that we learn how to move in righteousness with one another. It's vital that we learn to suppress and control these natural urges that we have to defend ourselves, these natural urges that we have to put up walls and to form narratives based on our feelings rather than facts. It's vital that we control our feelings, and it's vital that we move according to this word so that we can get the kingdom. Let's go to Philippians 4 and verse 8. So in order to do that, you have to train yourself to think positively, right? Because obviously we've been in the curses, and we've suffered the traumas that we've suffered, and we have this baggage with us, right? And it's a lot of times it's difficult. having a positive mindset and having a positive outlook a lot of times is not something that comes natural to us. It's something that we have to learn, right? So this is how you go about that. Read.
This is the book of Philippians, chapter 4 and verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things.
So set your mind to focus on the good things. Set your mind to focus on the righteous things. Set your mind to focus on all of these things that are good and righteous. That way, you'll be so occupied with thinking about the positives that you won't have any time, energy, or effort left to even consider the negative things, to even consider the idea that someone is out to get you, to even consider the idea that someone means to do you harm, right? When you have a positive mindset, what happens is you start to give people the immediate benefit of the doubt. Oh, well, it doesn't make sense that this sister would do this. Why would she do that? That doesn't make any sense. She's not an evil person. I don't know her to be evil. So why would I assume otherwise? It must be a misunderstanding. Let me go figure it out. Let me go make sure that she's okay. Right? This is what happens when you suppress that primal urge to defend yourself, that primal urge to avenge yourself, that primal urge to protect yourself. You end up gaining a brother or gaining a sister, right? And those are things that are going to move us closer to where we need to be, right? Let's grab 2 Timothy 1:7. This Bible has given us everything that we need to be prosperous. It's given us everything that we need to be successful in our pursuit for the kingdom. It's all in here. We don't have to go anywhere else, right? We just have to read it and learn it and understand it and then apply it. But it's all here.
This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
So the Most High hasn't given us a spirit of fear. We're not supposed to be fearful, right? We're not supposed to move with that idea that our own brethren are out to get us, right? Because when we move that way, it doesn't help us get any closer to prosperity. It doesn't help us it doesn't strengthen our efforts to attain this kingdom. It diminishes our efforts. It is a hindrance of us doing what it is that we need to do. So that's why he's given us not the spirit of fear, but the spirit of power, of love, and of a sound mind. The way that a sound mind operates is not on feelings or emotions, but on facts, logic, and reason, right? In righteousness. That's how a sound mind moves. And in order to gain a sound mind, you have to do what this book says. You have to do what the Bible says. You have to do what the Most High has put on us to do, right? Grab Philippians 2 and 12. So it's important that each of us do our part in obtaining the kingdom, do our part in making sure that we're built up enough to shoulder any adversities that our brethren are going with, right? We are supposed to build ourselves up so that we can be a pillar for the nation, right? And a pillar is something that that holds up. A pillar is a support, right? So we are supposed to be built up enough so that we're able to support and hold up and build up those of us who aren't as strong yet, right? That's how we build. That's how we grow. That's how we. That's how we're going to achieve the kingdom. Read.
This is the book of Philippians, chapter 2 and verse 12. Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
So you got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, right? Read.
For it is God which worketh in you, both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Do all things without murmurings and disputings.
Do all things without murmurings or disputing, not begrudgingly, not grumbling, not talking back or having an evil suspicion or having doubt or fear, but move with that sound mind and move with your focus on the positive things, on the good things, on growing, right? And suppress those evil suspicions, right? Grab. Did you finish that?
Yeah.
Okay. Read 15.
That ye may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God.
Because the goal is to be blameless and harmless, and you can't be blameless if you have an evil suspicion, and you can't be an evil suspicion that you haven't inquired about, right? Because the reason why it's a suspicion, because you don't have any fact. The reason why it's a suspicion is because you don't have any evidence. And you shouldn't be making a judgment without facts, without evidence, right? So you have to inquire diligently, right? So that you're blameless and harmless. Read.
Without rebuke. Sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom ye shine as lights in the world.
Grab Psalms 133 and verse 1. Because we are supposed to be the lights of the world. We are the ones that have this gospel. We are the ones that have this truth. We are the ones that have the laws. And so we are the ones that are supposed to be the examples. We are the ones that have the message from the Most High. So we should always be moving in a way that represents the greatness of the Most High. That's how we should be moving, right? Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 133 and verse 1. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
It is a good and pleasant thing for us to dwell together, right? But how can we dwell together in a good and pleasant way if we have evil suspicion? Grab Acts 2 and 42. That's why we have to move in righteousness. That's why we have to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, because these laws, statutes, and commandments give us the blueprint for how we will be able to work together, to build together, to grow together, and to be at peace, and to have pleasantry dwelling and building and growing with one another, right? We are commanded to have feasts all throughout the year, right? This is where we have to gather together, and there has to be a level of coordination so that everyone is able to feast, right? And in order for that to happen, we have to be able to work together, right? In order to have a congregation that is contributing meaningfully to the nation, there has to be a level of coordination and communication, and it has to be efficient. It has to be effective, right? And you can't do those things if you're in your feelings. If you're in your feelings, right, then, when it's your turn to do something, you're looking at someone like, well, what do they do, right? What are they contributing? Why is it that I always have to do this? Why is it that I always have to do that? Why don't they ever have to contribute the way that I have to contribute, right? How come they always get to bring the drink, right? I don't see them on the list, on the main meal list ever. Why? You don't know what's going on with them. You're not in charge of organizing the meal. So stay in your lane and don't have an evil suspicion. Because the thing is, there are officers in place to handle certain situations, right? And these officers are tasked with knowing the congregation so that they can make decisions that works for everyone. That's best in the conversation, right? You don't know if that sister is going through a tough financial time right now, where she just doesn't have the extra funds to be able to put together, a whole safer pan of food for everyone, right? She might be, going through a little something, so she's being eased, right? We are supposed to be pillars, so the rest of us pick up that burden. That's how we're supposed to operate. But now you over here in your feelings because she don't ever bring a chafer pan. She always get to bring juice, or she always get to bring a dessert. Like, get out of your feelings. Where we at? Read that.
This is the book of Acts 2, Acts chapter 2 and verse 42. And they continue steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship, and in breaking of bread and in prayers.
This is how we're supposed to be continuing to move. Read.
Verse 43. And fear came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were done by the apostles.
Read.
And all that believed were together and had all things in common.
And all that believed were together and had all things in common. They were on one accord. They were on one accord because they were heeding to these commandments and they were moving in righteousness. That's how they were all on one accord. That's how we're supposed to be today. We're supposed to be moving with the goal of being on one accord, right? Read.
And sold their possessions and goods and parted them to all men, as every man had need.
So they were so together on one accord. They trusted each other so much, and they were moving so much in righteousness that they sold their belongings and divvied up the proceeds, not evenly, right, but rather based on needs. If I have a lot, right, then I don't need as big of a pot, as big of a slice of the pot as someone who doesn't have as much as me, right? And there's no issue with that. I want to make sure that everyone has what it is that they need, right? I don't need to. It shouldn't be a situation where I have excess and I'm not willing to part with it, right? You should be able to. You should want to give as much as is necessary for everyone to be good. That's how we get to being on one accord, right? Read.
Verse 46. And they, continuing daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart.
Gladness and singleness of heart. They're on one accord. And when you're on one accord, it is a merry time. It is a great time. You have a great time when you're on one accord with one another. Right? Read.
Verse 47. Praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to the church daily such as should be saved.
Grab Psalms 139 and 23. They were praising the Most High, and they had favor with all the people, right? Everyone was in good favor with one another. No one had an evil suspicion. No one felt any kind of way. No one was moving in their feelings. And because of this, because they were all on one accord in righteousness, the Most High continued to add to the church. He continued to bless the church, to bless the congregation. So if your congregation is not being blessed, then y'all got to evaluate some things, right? Y'all got to look at some things and judge in righteousness. Yo, we're not seeming to be blessed like the scriptures say we would be blessed if we're on one accord, if we're moving in righteousness. So we got to examine some things. We got to figure some things out. We got to get right. Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 139 and verse 23. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my thoughts, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting.
This is part of the works that we are to do as individuals, right? We should be praying to the Most High to search us, to show me where I am going astray. Show me where I'm falling off. Show me where I am not living up to the righteousness that I should be living up to. Expose me of that. If I have any wicked ways about me, expose that to me, right? So that I can get that out of the way, so that I can adjust and move accordingly, right? So that I can purge myself of any wickedness or uncleanness that I might have, so that I can be focused on doing the will of the Most High. That's what our prayer should be, right? That's what part of our prayer should be. Examine me, Father. Show me where I'm going off. Show me where I'm not moving accordingly. Expose me of that, right? And he might do it by having someone come to you and be like, look, you know, I want the best for you, and what I'm seeing is not the best right now. Accept that. Appreciate that. That's what you want. You want your brethren to come to you when they see or recognize that you're falling short, that you're not living up to what you should be living up to as a servant of the Most High. Right? That's a good thing. Don't run away from that. Don't shy away from that. Grab Ephesians 4 and we'll start at 1.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 4 and verse 1.
That's how we remain in the Spirit, by continually asking the Most High to expose us of any wickedness, right? To expose us of any unrighteousness, and then to accept and adjust when that exposure comes. Read.
I, therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that ye walk worthy of the vocation wherewith ye are called, with all lowliness and meekness.
So the vocation where we are called is to spread this gospel, to get the kingdom, right? That's something that we're all called to do. We're all called to play our part, right? And this is how we are to go about that. This is the way that makes it possible. You move in lowliness, in humility, right? And meekness. Read.
With long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace.
With long suffering, right? You have to be more than patient. You have to assume the good in everybody. That's part of it. That's what you have to do, right? We have to be committed to pursuing peace and unity amongst one another. And you can't do that and have an evil suspicion. You can't do that and not go to this person and inquire diligently. It's not possible. Read.
Chapter 4.
Verse 4.
Salakia.
You got it. It's chapter 4 also.
There is one body and one spirit, even as ye are called in one hope of your calling.
Read.
One Lord, one faith, one baptism.
The key here is one. It's one accord. Read.
One God and Father of all, who is above all and through all, and in you all.
Read.
But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ.
This is the thing that a lot of us forget a lot of the times, right? we're so quick to convict someone of wrongdoing, not understanding, not recalling and remembering the sacrifice that Christ gave so that we have an opportunity to be saved. Right? We have the opportunity to repent and turn away from all of our wicked ways, all of our evil doings, all of our sins, because of the sacrifice that Yahweh Shai made for us. He didn't do any wrong at all, and yet he gave his life so that each of us have an opportunity for salvation. But yet we're very, very quick to want to convict someone, very quick to want to feel entitled to call this person out, to feel entitled to feel a kind of way about this person, right? We got to move like Christ. We got to be willing to offer up that we have to be willing to offer up grace. We have to be charitable. We have to be long suffering. We have to forgive. Right? This is part of it. Because we can never repay or be accountable for all of the sins that we committed. We can't. We are forever in debt. And so that's how we should be moving as someone who is forever in debt. I can never work this off. I just got to keep working. Grab Colossians 3 and 12. We can't pay off this debt. We're not entitled to anything, right? And so we shouldn't move with any kind of entitlement. Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 12. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies.
Bowels of mercies, read.
Kindness.
Kindness, read.
Humbleness of
Humbleness of mind, read.
Meekness. Long suffering.
Meekness and long suffering, right? This is the armor that we should be wearing daily, right? Read.
Verse 13. Forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also do ye.
We gotta forgive one another. We gotta work out these evil suspicions. We gotta work out these feelings that we have. Right? Read.
Verse 14. And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to thee which also ye are called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and in hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts of the Lord.
So we have to move in a way that is gracious, that is charitable, that is humble and meek. We have to move as though every thought that we have is being counted, is being watched, is being recorded, because it is. You don't have time for an evil suspicion. You don't have time to be in your feelings. We have to learn how to move according to this word and not according to our feelings. We have to learn how to suppress our natural urges, our primal urges, and rededicate ourselves on a daily, hourly, hour by hour, second by second. We have to rededicate ourselves to walk in this walk in righteousness. Right? We have to be able to check ourselves and be like, no, I need to give him or her the benefit of the doubt. I shouldn't feel like they're trying, like they meant to hurt me. I shouldn't feel like they meant to offend me. I shouldn't feel like they don't like me. They have an agenda against me. I shouldn't feel that way. I need to go inquire. I need to go check that. I need to go make sure that that's not the case. And if it is the case, then I need to move according to these scriptures. I need to judge the matter in righteousness. That's how we're supposed to be moving. 1 Peter 5 and 8. All of the tools, all of the everything that we need to move the way that we've been called to move is in this Bible. It's all right here. Read.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
This is something that we forget often, and this is something that should always be on our mind. The devil doesn't stop looking for victims. He doesn't stop looking for foot soldiers. He doesn't stop looking for people, for individuals that he can overcome. He's always right there, just waiting for an opportunity, right? Just waiting for you to feel something, and he's gonna pounce. He's gonna jump on that, and he's gonna take advantage of it as much as possible. So we gotta move with that in mind. We have to move like, man, this devil is always here. The devil doesn't need rest. He doesn't need sleep. He doesn't need food. Like, he is in constant pursuit to take you down. That's his goal. That's his only objective. Separate you from the Most High as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So we got to make sure that we are checking our feelings. We have to make sure that we're casting our evil suspicions aside, and that we're moving in righteousness. We're giving the grace that Christ gave to us. We're moving charitably. We're moving with meekness and humility, right? And we're putting our pride aside, and we're saying, look, I got to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to get the kingdom. I got to make sure that I'm moving in a way that I can be a pillar for this body. I have to play my part so that we are aligned as one, right? So, most high willing, this class was edifying. Most high willing, you got something out of it, and most high willing, you move according to these commandments. And with that, I say shalom.
Shalom.